Fuck the posers. Fuck the PC. Fuck the cancel culture. Fuck it all.
Welcome to the Riff Crew. I'm your host, Steve Mitchell, back for another big episode of the Electric Church here on the Riff Crew, talking all things on the live music scene and talking about the live music scene in a minute. Over in the United States is Skull. How you doing, mate?
Great, man. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen in Cyberland. As you know, this is Skull broadcasting from the past, present, and future in the Chamber of the Cosmos. Here with my good friend Steve Oz from Ozland. I'm an off-again, on-again DC bomb rock band Black Manta. I've been in the DC scene for 35 years. I know people from all over the scene. Also, I worked at the Smithsonian for 20 years and have incorporated my love and passion for history with my love and passion for music. As usual, really excited to be here. And just have to say, welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We normally do, what, three or four, five or six of these shows a year. We're only doing a couple a year now.
Yeah, I think I
Um,
think I think two a year works well.
yeah, so we're good. So we have a lot to cover. And as everybody knows, if you've been watching this, and I know you know, Steve, that I've been doing a lot of a lot of bucket list shows these days. You know, with the what was it, Paul McCartney and Santana and all that stuff. So and I'm still continuing that thing. So there was the first half of the year, there was, of course, there was a lot of bucket list stuff, but a lot of big bucket list things at the latter part of the year. Um, the first one was I obviously you can't go to every show, so I try to go as many as I can. Some of them, because of COVID, some of them get canceled, or some of them have there's actually like date conflicts. But I was going to go see there's a band called X, the legendary punk rock LA punk rock band, um, that I was going to go see. That got postponed, canceled because of COVID. Never got to go to that. And there was Robert Plant from, you might have heard of a little band known as Led Zeppelin. I'd never seen him. He was coming through town, and the show got canceled because of toxic fumes, smoke fumes billowing from Canada. There was like all these smoke fires, these forest fires, and the smoke was coming down. It was crazy. You could barely see. There's pictures of it, but it looks like something right out of Blade Runner, where it's like there's smog and fog, and you can't see like 2 feet in front of you. So the show got canceled. It actually postponed until 2024. So I kept my ticket, and I'll be seeing him hopefully, you know, in the summertime. But the first show for this Electric Church was a huge bucket list thing. And it was actually, there was a conflict. It was either this show or Greg Ginn's Black Flag plays My War in its entirety. And I really wanted to go to that. You know, Hillel went to that, guitar player from Black Manta. Um, Speaking of, we're playing a gig at there's the Maryland Doomfest 2024.
Pine Death Fest.
Yeah, with Sirith or Kirith Ungle, however you pronounce it. We're opening up for them.
But,
So that's
are
super
they are they
cool.
are they playing Doomfest?
Yeah, we're opening for them
What is that June?
in late June.
Okay, because they're coming out in Australia like end of May, start of June. So I'll get to see them a couple of weeks before you play with them.
Cool, yeah. But so I'll hit up the guys. I've known those guys since the 80s. I love their sound. They were doing that. Another one of these really weird. I mean, they kind of fall under the banner of Doom. Not as much straightforward as Trouble and Saint Vitus and Obsessed, but still kind of doomy leftover elements, if you will, from like the 70s, that kind of thing. But yeah, I just wanted to shout out that we're actually playing that. So if any local Doom guys want to check out the Maryland Doom Fest, there's a bunch of other bands playing, but um, they always try to put one old school band on there. And this year it's Searthungle, so that's very cool. Um, anyway, so the there was a conflicting show with Greg Ginn's Black Flag Plays My War in its entirety, and John Fogerty from CCR, which is a huge. I love that band. Never seen them. I did see Creedence Clearwater Revisited, which was the rhythm section without John Fogerty. I saw them 20 years ago, and they were great. But this is the man himself. Always wanted to see him. So I was like, well, Greg Ginn or John Fogerty, you know? So I went with John Fogerty. He's a million years old. I still have a few more chances to see Greg Ginn. But, I think John Fogerty's one of these guys that never really partied. He looked great. He sounded great. His voice was incredible. His backing band is his fucking kids. His one guitar playing kid looks just like one of his kids looks like like the 69 version of John Fogerty with the shaggy hair. And anyway, it was great. They started off with Bad Moon Rising, and then, songs like Born on the Bayou, Lodi, Run Through the Jungle, just a lot of amazing old school stuff. He played some of his solo stuff too, but it was really great. That was a huge bucket list thing for me. So and that was at Wolf Trap, outside venue. Place was very, very cool. So
How big, what would be the capacity of that venue?
how big is Wolf Trap?
Yeah.
Like 15,000? Something like that.
Wow.
Because
So,
yeah,
and it was pretty full?
yeah. It was pretty full. I'm trying to think, something around there. I mean, because I know that Nissan is like much bigger, and that's around 20,000, and then their Merriweather's kind of like in the middle, and Wolf Trap is the smallest of the three. But it's pretty big, definitely 10,000 at least.
Well,
And then after that was another huge, well, let me just show off this. I just have to show off. This is one of my mini CCR albums. Amazing album title, Cosmos Factory. Terrible, terrible album cover of them. And I don't even fucking know what's going on this cover. But this has Bad Moon Rising on it and a bunch of other amazing shit on here. Run Through the Jungle. But it's funny, it's like right after that, there
so
was another
before you jump on to the next band, what was the background of them breaking up? Because obviously I'm familiar with their catalog, but they weren't together that long.
well, how many hours do you have?
Give me the executive summary.
Um, evil, evil, pernicious, diabolical record company and manager managed the company. There was an evil, pernicious, diabolical, evil cunt of a human being named Saul Sance or whatever his name is. I can't remember his name now, but he basically they signed their life away, and he was one of these guys that like was all he cared about, just eaten up with greed, just eaten up with it, doesn't care about the art of it or the music, the creativity of it. He just wants more, more, more. I want more, just like a pig at a trough, just feed until you keel over dead. So anyway, this guy, they signed their lives away. They wanted to be rock stars. They didn't know what they were doing. They signed all their, the publishing away and everything. And it got so bad that when in the early 80s, when John Fogerty started doing he was doing solo stuff, but he started gaining some momentum in the early 80s with his album Centerfold. There's a song on there called Old Man Down the Road. It was the first single off the album. And when that guy heard that song, he sued John Fogerty for saying that the song he wrote sounded too much like a CCR song that he owned. That's all that the manager owned. Not that John Fogerty owned. He's like, I own one of your songs, and you wrote a song that sounds too close like one of the songs I fucking stole from you, so I'm going to sue you. That's the kind of human being we're dealing with here. So that's that's why they broke up. They broke up in the early 70s. There was also the bands wasn't getting along, and some they John Fogerty is this like this hit making machine. He just had it. It was just coming out of his pores, and he was making all these writing these amazing songs, and all the other guys were like, "Hey, well, we want to write songs too." And he was like, "Okay, well, I'll write a few, and then the drummer will write a few, and each person wrote like 2 or 3 songs. I think that album's called Mardi Gras, and so their songs fucking suck. I mean, is what it boils down to. They're terrible. It's like, okay, and then you gave him a chance, and then it's like, anyway, it was one of those things where they were they weren't really running out of steam, but he was writing all the hits, and then there was a band turmoil, and then the evil fucker of a manager was coming in and like raping them and raping John Fogerty and raping his legacy and his creativity. And everyone, if you're watching, you'll be happy to know that that evil fucker is dead now. He lived to be 90 something, but he's dead. So eventually, you know, the Grim Reaper comes for all of us, no matter how fucking evil you are. So, live well now. Be good to each other. Follow the golden rule. You know what I mean? Life's too short. Don't be an evil fucking cunt of a human being.
Yeah, don't be a dick.
Anyway, you asked, so I wasn't expecting to go into that, but that's what happened to poor John Fogerty. And in fact, there's a happy ending. When that evil fucker died, the label reached out to him. This is about 10 years ago, and said, "Hey, we know what happened. In good faith, we want to rework the publishing with you." They didn't have to do this, but they knew how evil that guy was, and will rework it. And so he basically was able to get all of his publishing back and was able to get all of his songs back. So it's a happy ending. Let that evil fucker die, and let him get raped in the ass by Satan every day for all of eternity, which he is. So it's a happy ending, folks, for everybody. And he actually kept talking about that on stage. He was like, "These are my songs now, and I'm happy to be playing them here for you." He was super, super excited. He was like liberated. He's like, after 50 years, these songs are mine. And he told some really amazing stories about one of his guitars, like, got stolen or lost, and his wife went on this epic odyssey to find like his lost guitar. And then anyway, it was awesome. It was awesome. So, I mean, I know we went off on a little bit of a tangent there. You asked me, so being a rock and roll disciple, I'm gonna fill in the holes and try to fill in as much knowledge as I can about what I know. But anyway, the funny thing and there was another bucket list band after that, also at Wolf Trap. This band. Yep. Jethro Tull. That's Aqualung, as everybody knows. I'd never seen him. My friend Mark Jackson and Jim Kirkland from Dreaming City Books, a couple of guys that I collaborate with on literature, creatively. We all went. None of us had ever seen Jethro Tull. It was really great. I mean, it was weird. They were calling it like a celebration of like 6 decades or something. It's like, oh, I know that we started in 1968, but it's been 6 decades if you include it. So they played like a song from each decade. It was not a greatest hits tour, I got to tell you. They only played 2 songs off of Aqualung. They didn't play anything off of Thick as a Brick, but they did play like some stuff off what was it? Off of Stand Up, which is like their second album. And they played Nothing Is Easy, which was a single. I mean, they played some pretty wild stuff, but they also played like stuff from the late 70s, like Heavy Horses and a lot of newer stuff for the younger crowd.
Well,
But
they
it was just,
released they released an album, I think, in 2022.
yeah, rock
So it's,
flute.
yeah, still putting stuff out.
Yeah, with like the little stick man playing the flute, and that was pretty good. But I'd never seen them, and it was great to see them. And they ended with like Aqualung and Locomotive Breath, so that was cool. But they definitely played. It's like if you were a real Tull fan and you've been following their career all the way up till now, it would have been a real treat because they played all kinds of wild stuff. Um, After that, another bucket list thing, another huge bucket list thing for me as as a kid from the South Florida. One of the big bands, of course, is this band here. I'd never had a chance to see them. It's Lynyrd Skynyrd. And I know everyone's fucking dead. Everybody in the band's dead, but I'd never seen them. So, for me, honestly, there's a lot of people don't know this, but there's a guy named Ricky Medlock. He's a guitar singer for a band called Blackfoot. They were big in the UK in the early 80s. Really great Southern rock band. And he actually was in the original incarnation of Lynyrd Skynyrd, but he left, started his own band. He's actually on they recently released an album that he was on that got shelved before it got released. So technically he's like the last original guy. And the singer is, that's the brother of the original singer. Um and he's been doing it forever. And of course it was a Sharp Dressed Man tour, so it was ZZ Top and Lynyrd Skynyrd. And I've seen these guys, I don't know, I mean, 6, 7 times. They always deliver. They're amazing. So it was great seeing them. They're playing with their new bass player who looks like a human chicken. He has this insane, like crazy chicken hair. I don't even know how to explain it. It looks like he put his finger in a light socket or something. It's like, um, but I think he was the bass tech for Dusty Hill for about 30 years or something. And so that was cool seeing them. Just a great party. Another huge like, checklist thing for me to be able to see those guys. Um, and the next thing coming up after that was as my taste is like all over the map, like heavy stuff and classic rock and underground and I was excited to see there was a show coming up. It was DRI and Cro-Mags at the Cafe 611. Now this story might take a little bit longer than I want it to, but
And I'll preface it. This is an alleged show review.
oh, this is all alleged.
This is all an alleged show review. Yeah.
Oh, this is all, yeah, this all allegedly happened,
Yes.
except I was there and I saw it with my own two eyes. And I'm one of the few people on the planet that actually saw it take place from the beginning to end. I just happened to be there when everything was happening because I went in the back and I was just chilling out in the back. There's a smoke area in the back, and I was just like just killing time with like the first band was playing. I even met the kids. I went in the back. I talked to Kurt, the singer from DRI. Hey, what's up? I'm, with Riff Crew, the Realm, whatever. I was just like kind of networking, talking to people. I talked to the Destroy magazine kids. They seemed like normal kids. They were selling hot sauce and fucking magazines. Young, super young. And anyway, anyone here can look it up. If you put in Destroy magazine, Cro-Mags, it'll instantly pop up. There was this insane. I don't even know what you call it. Street punk melodrama that unfolded like almost immediately. And it turns out that I mean, there's some conflicting stories. I didn't see what instigated it, but I just saw there was a attractive, a pretty young girl with the Destroy Zine kids. And all of a sudden she was like, "What are you looking at? Why do you keep looking at me?" And if later on you find out that Harley was like creeping on her, kept like looking at her and was like, "Hey, baby, whatever, this is what they claim." I don't doubt it because I don't know why anyone would go. It went from like 0 to 100 in like 1 second, and there's no reason why a bunch of young kids, if you look it up, they said that they reached out to Harley's crew. They're like, we wanted to interview him for the magazine. Anyway, anyone here can look it up. The bottom line is, it happened. He did it. And all those kids got assaulted. They all got beat up by the Cro-Mags crew and Harley and all these fucking macho asshole lunatics. I was disgusted with myself when I found out later on. After it happened, I was the one that ran to get security. I'll put it to you like that. That's how close I was to everything that was going on. Ran to go get security because these kids were getting their asses beat up by a bunch of like, New York street thugs.
Grown
And
men,
so,
yeah, solid grown men.
huh?
Solid grown men.
Yeah, grown men beating up
they're
like
skinny
I mean,
kids.
I say kids, but they were like in their early 20s. You know what I mean? Skinny, 100-pound wet, 100-pound kids, 120-pound kids, girl beating up a girl. I mean, come on. How low? What kind of like, you know, what kind of life form, low subhuman life form are you to beat up on a girl? A man, grown man beat up on a girl. So, anyway, I was there. I saw it. I had to go get the security guard. When I came back, I talked to Kurt, and Kurt was this kind of like non-committal and like, well, these kids are, maybe they deserved it. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? So I was very upset about that.
Well,
You know,
I guess if he's on tour with him, he doesn't want to create a rift or something
I
like
don't
that.
know. All I can tell you is that when I came home, I threw all my fucking Cro-Mag shit out. Of course, I kept, I have Age of Quarrel, and because that has Paris on it, and Best Wishes because it has Paris on it. But the new album, I came home, threw the CD in the trash. It's garbage to me. I'll never go see him again. Um, he's a lunatic. He needs serious help, and I will never support that band ever again. I'll support Paris and John Joseph. When you hear about all these rumors, and I'm in a band. Being in a band is challenging. Everyone has their own independent personalities and blah blah blah. You hear all these rumors about this person is this and this person that is that, and then you hear like, oh, Harley threatened someone with a fucking 10-inch Bowie knife, and just crazy shit like that. And you're like, yeah, yeah, whatever, whatever. And then just something like this happens, and you piece it together. It's like, okay, well, it's all the pieces are lining up. I mean, this guy's crazy. So John Joseph, you hear stories about from him and from Paris and whoever else, that the difficulty of dealing with certain personalities. And then it's like, you see this happen with your own eyes. No one's going to fucking tell me different. I fucking saw it with my own fucking eyes. There's not alleged, nothing is alleged. I saw it with my, like I said, I'm one of the few people on the planet that
That saw the
literally
fire.
saw it happen from beginning to end. I have photos of it. I didn't take a video of it, but I have photos of the aftermath of the room was just completely destroyed. There's hot sauce everywhere and the tables turned upside down and blood everywhere. It's a fucking nightmare. Um, anyway, uh, I guess because I was already there, I stayed to watch the show. And the real unfortunate thing is the show was amazing. It was really, really good. But the whole thing was tarnished by that incident. And he went up there and he's like, I would never do this. And he kept saying how I wouldn't do this and I wouldn't do that and I would never. Uh, he kept contradicting himself. They started it and all this stuff, and then he was like, you know, but if I didn't, if I didn't start it and you coming after me like that, you're gonna get what you get, and and he was trashing the girl and saying, I know the guy was trying to stick up for his girlfriend, but women can get. He didn't say women. He used the derogatory term, can get guys into trouble, and anyway, he was a nightmare. He would say one thing and then say another thing, and then I was like, man, it was like he keeps digging a hole deeper because he wasn't like sticking to one story. He kept like flip-flopping and then saying this, and I was like, man, this guy's out of his fucking mind. Anyway, I wanted to show this. This is if you can see this, is it too bright? Destroy magazine, maybe it's too bright. Oh, there you go. You can kind of see it. Destroy magazine. Support these kids. Look into what I'm talking about. It's really unfortunate that I saw Cro-Mags back in 1989 with Destruction. It was Destruction and Cro-Mags at the old 930 Club, and it was a fucking slugfest, man. It was a bloodbath. I got my nose busted. My friend got his collarbone broken. The entire pit was ruled by, insane, skinheads. And I was like, that's 30 years ago. How can they still be like, we're grown men now. We're not fucking kids anymore. Lo and behold, he goes there to fucking proves everybody wrong and acts like a fucking goddamn, caveman. It's like a fucking caveman. Anyway, there was that one, which, I had it, I think I was in a little bit I guess shock after that. PTSD. We tried
did you stick around for DRI?
I did. I watched the whole show. I say for the whole show. I was like kind of upset, but I was like, I wanted to see if they tried to do the right thing and say blah blah blah. But every time it was like it wasn't like it was my fault, things got out of hand. It was all these kids, these kids, these kids. It's like you got sad, dude. It's like you can't even you're not even man enough. You're not man enough to take responsibility for the insane shit that you did. It's like we're fucking grown men and you can't even take responsibility for the crazy shit. So, it was just really unfortunate and very disappointing to see. I mean, some of my heroes, like not like Rush type heroes, but hardcore heroes, crossover heroes like DRI. But anyway, we'll see. We've been in contact with the Destroy Zine kids. It's been kind of quiet for a little bit. I don't know if it's going to go to court, or I know that they filed a complaint with the police, and I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But my point is, I will never go see Cro-Mags again. I will never support them ever again. And I'm very, very disappointed in that shit. So anyway, if anybody out there has any questions about what happened, you can just we have a Facebook, right? Contact Steve Oz on Facebook, and we can give you more of the lowdown on what happened. After that, there was another huge bucket list thing for me, and it was fucking Queen. Now it's only Brian May and Roger Taylor left, but it was Queen and Adam Lambert, and that was really amazing. The reason I'm showing this album is because they played Stone Cold Crazy. The song that Metallica, Stone Cold Crazy, yo! You know how like Metallica used to cover that song all the time? It's on that Garage Inc. album from the late 90s. You know you
One,
have it.
one, one, one. I don't listen to Metallica. Two, I definitely don't listen to the late '90s
Okay,
Metallica.
well, you know you have it. Anyway, that was one of the songs off that, and actually gained, Queen a little more, I guess, popularity at the time when people didn't really know who they were in the late 90s. But that album was, I mean, that show was fucking incredible. Um, it was at arena in Baltimore called the CFG Arena. I'd never been there before, but I think people have shows there because you can do like pyrotechnics and stuff like that. It's one of those arenas that can handle that kind of stuff because there was like all these light shows and he goes into a guitar solo and he starts rising on like this platform like I don't know like 60, 70, 80 feet in the air, and all of a sudden like all these planets, because he's a he has a doctorate in astrophysics. Did you know that? And his planets start like falling down and like, anyway, it was awesome. They played everything that you would expect. They played some, like I said, Stone Cold Crazy, some deep cuts, but it was a real joy to see them. That was a huge. I'm a massive, massive Queen fan. So that was a massive bucket list thing for me.
Was it
Um,
billed as a Queen show, or did they go under a different name?
they always do Queen Plus. Like when they were with Paul Rogers from Bad Company, it was Queen plus Paul Rogers. No, it's Queen plus Adam Lambert. But it's Queen. I mean, it's Brian May's band, it's Roger Taylor's band. And I'll say, um, they play it was they played a Roger Taylor song called I'm in Love with My Car, because every album Roger Taylor would sing like a one or two songs, and Brian May would sing one or two songs, who has a great voice. And that was really awesome that they played super deep cuts like that. But it's Queen, and it's basically Queen with Adam Lambert, who was awesome, by the way. Great voice, really great, strong voice. If any Queen fans out there, if they ever come your way, I highly recommend you see that. It was quite a spectacle. It was a real rock show with all of the visuals and great musicianship and all the his guitar tone with the Red Special. He plays a guitar called the Red Special. The tones were all there. I talk about how like a lot of these older guys are starting to realize like, it's getting older. This is just getting towards the end. We're pulling out all the stops. We have to make sure that we're doing the best of the best. So all these guys all so far have always had like really great tones. The next show, this is kind of a bit of a weird one. It was another conflicting show. I was either going to see Agent Orange, which is they're a band from California, surf punk, it's a huge band. Living in Darkness, the first album, they were going to play it in its entirety. That was a big thing for me. But at Tally Ho the same night was this band. You see it?
Oh, it's just black and white. I can't see anything. Oh, Venom.
Venom. But it wasn't the reason I'm showing this particular album, Calm Before the Storm. It was after Kronos left, it was Demolition Man was the singer, guitar, bass player then, and the Primeval Period was the first album. It's Black and Gold, Primeval Period, and the reason I'm showing this is because I was going to see Mantis when Venom Inc. first started. It was Mantis and Abaddon. Abaddon bailed. I've never seen Abaddon. I never seen Mantis, and I show up. Turns out, unfortunately, Mantis, his wife, is very ill. I hope she's doing well, but he had to bail out of the tour. At the last minute, they contacted a guitar player named Mike Hickey, who's on this album. He's an American bloke who lives outside of Boston, lives in the Boston area. They contacted him at the last minute, and he said, "Sure, I'll do it." And so that's why I'm showing this. I used to have, I think I have Primeval on cassette. But I don't know where that is right now. Um, I will tell you, it was a little disappointing. I really wanted to see, I really wanted to see, Mantis, but the bass player singer, Demolition Man was really amazing. I mean, they played a lot of deep cuts. They played, the first two songs they played were Witching Hour and Black Metal, and it just got crazier from there. Live like an angel, die like a, or live like a devil, die like an angel, whatever that fucking song is. Anyway, it was really good. He was really into it. The Stinger bass player was really into it, and I would recommend checking that out. Um, After that was, let's see here. Oh shit. Um, it's another kind of weird, crazy show. It was Suicidal. They played this album in its entirety, and the funny thing is, about 5 years ago, they were doing the 35th anniversary tour of this album, and they played it in its entirety, and I saw it. And this was the 40th anniversary, and this album is only about 30 minutes long. And I don't, I love Suicidal, but Mike Muir can ramble, and he took a 30-minute album and spread it out into an hour and a half. Now he played other songs too, and they played a couple, like one song off of Join the Army and one song of How Will I Laugh. But he really stretched it out. He kept talking about freedom and this and that. I don't know. The band was really good. His backup band was really good. It got pretty wild towards the end, I have to say, because I'm just sitting there. You don't really know what to expect, and all of a sudden he's like, "Hey, bring that kid up on stage and bring that." And they started bringing people up on stage, and for that song, the ST song from
Pledge Your Allegiance.
Pledge
Was
Your
it?
Allegiance.
Yeah.
Yeah, from How Will I Laugh? ST. He kept bringing people up on stage. ST. And before you know it, dude, there was like 100 people on stage going ST. And then they spread the song out for like 10 minutes, and he just kept playing the riff. But the backup band was really good. The guitar player was nuts. He kept climbing on top of his like amps and jumping like off by like 10 or 15 feet. I was like, this guy's gonna break a fucking leg, but when you're young, you can fucking do crazy shit like that, I guess. So that was cool, except for Mike's rambling. Um, and after that, what was after that? Oh, another huge, huge, huge bucket list thing for me. I also saw this band at the CFG Arena. Um, you see it?
Oh, I've never heard of them before.
It was their, it was the second to last show before kaput. I show up there, I'm just showing up. I don't have a fucking ticket. I'm just that's just kind of how I roll, I guess. I just the luck of the draw. I've never had any problems with finding a ticket. So because it's just me, I'm not having to worry about getting a ticket for anybody else. So I just show up, I get a ticket, and I just always wanted to see these guys. I was supposed to see them in the Psycho Circus tour in the late 90s when it was all four of them together. And they really delivered. And it was supposed to be there was a guy next to me. I went to the lady, I was like, give me the cheapest ticket you have. And she's like, well, do you want this one or this one? And I was like, wow, those are actually pretty good seats. I was like, I'll take the $90 one. There was a guy, a fat old guy next to me, like eating Cheetos and or whatever, marshmallows and French fries or whatever, and just getting it all over himself. And he was like, "This is the 16th time I've seen him this year." I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." And he was like, it was what did he say? He's like, oh yeah, these tickets were normally $160, but they lowered the price to $90 because they're trying to get people in. And I was like, well, that worked out for me because I got a really awesome seat. The set list did not disappoint. The band didn't disappoint. Gene Simmons spit blood and did his whole like, spit fire, and it was great. I mean, it was one of those things where I guess technically it was the third to last show ever, supposedly, because they played 2 nights at Madison Square Garden and then at Baltimore. So it was like the third to last. And now I don't know if you heard, Kiss has made a big announcement that they're going to go virtual, that it will be a virtual tour with these avatars, these hologram Kiss, and they're not going to do any physical tours anymore. So like it was just one of those things. I will say, there was a couple of songs I didn't really expect them to play. Like there was a lot of stuff I didn't expect them to play that they played. Like there was a couple of songs I wanted them to play that I was like, they're never going to play it in a million years. And they did. They played Heaven's on Fire, which was, I'm an 80s kid, so that was great to see that. And they played Lick It Up, but they also play, Cold Gin and Black Diamond. Anyway, it was great. It was fantastic. I guess apparently it'll never happen again. Maybe I'm guessing that they'll probably play festivals or something like that. But yeah, you have any questions about the Kiss show?
No, I know that they're always solid live. They have such a good stage production. So I skipped them last year because I looked at tickets and they were like $300 each, and I was thinking of taking my kids, and it was like, it ended up at close to $1,000 just to see one show. So I thought, no.
Wow, I believe it. Yeah, man, it's expensive. Yeah, the stage show was mind-blowing. Pyrotechnics, they're trying to blow up the place. Oh, Paul Space Ace or whatever his fucking name is. Yeah, Space Ace, Spaceman. I think he was called Spaceman. Starman. He's Starman. And then the other guy was Space Ace or Ace Frehley. But Starman, aka Paul Stanley, got on this wire, and traveled across the audience. Anyway, it was these 70-year-old guys still doing this really amazing shit. Um, I was gonna say highly recommended, but I think that's all she wrote, folks. No more Kiss shows, unless you want to go see him the hologram version. It is the future. Um, Another huge bucket list thing for me. We're switching gears here to the 80s, cyberpunk new wave. I was really excited to see these guys. Unfortunately, the singer was a little low energy. I don't know if he was drunk or what, but it was still really cool to see them. Um, and that was at the Fillmore in Silver Spring.
Oh, who was that? I didn't
Um,
catch it on the cover.
you didn't see it? I ran so far away. I
Don't
couldn't
know.
get away. You know that song?
No.
Come on, man. Everybody fucking knows that song. Sing it. Anyway, Flock of Seagulls. You ever heard of them?
Never. The first time right now.
You lie.
True. True story.
That song is one of those songs that they put on like commercials and like in TV shows and movies. Like how every big band has like a song that has like gets like pays for their fucking mortgage or whatever. That's their song. Um After that, it's a local legendary DC hardcore band just came out with a new album. Wanted to see them. Went with my friend Will from the Purple Narwhal band you might have heard of called
No, I haven't heard of them
Scream.
either.
This we'll have to um we'll have to fix that because this is my favorite, probably my favorite Discord album, along with Flex Your Head, the comps. This is probably my favorite Discord album. It's incredible. Anyway, you know, about Scream, Dave Grohl from Dave Grohl from Nirvana.
I never got into Nirvana. I never got into Foo Fighters. I never got into
You know
Scream.
the name Dave Grohl?
I am familiar with the name, yes.
Okay. He was in Scream before he left the DC scene and moved out to the West Coast to Seattle or wherever he moved to and miraculously hooked up with, Nirvana and all that stuff. So he's a bit of a local hero here in the DC scene. But, he knows these guys and he comes back into town occasionally. This show was at the Black Cat. But incidentally, Dave Grohl, I don't know if he still does, but at one time he did, I think he was like co-owner of it. And I ran into him one time at the Black Cat. He was just drinking a beer and it was just one of those kinds of things. But great show. The band opened up for them called Soulside, another great DC hardcore band. That was really fantastic. It was just really good seeing them. I've seen those guys a couple of times and they're always really deliver. And so it was cool. You've heard of Goat Snake, right?
No,
Goat
I don't think
Snake,
I have. I don't think I have.
Southern Lord Doom band from on Southern Lord Records. Okay.
I'm thinking of Goat Horse, so my brain's
Oh
mixed
yeah,
up with
Goat
Scream.
Snake was what's his face's name from Southern Lord. That's his Doom. Because he does Sun O.
Yeah, I know Son of yeah.
Anyway, Brian Stahl, the singer from Scream was also in Goat Snake. Anyway, people out there know what I'm talking about. I'm still getting Steve Oz up to speed with with all the knowledge here. It'll take a lifetime, but one step at a time. Rome wasn't built in a day. Um, Finally, the last show was a show that actually kind of got shuffled around a little bit. Was the Al Bouchard's Imaginos. Little history about that. That's what this is here. This is the Blue Oyster Cult Imaginos. And this is the version that a lot of people are familiar with. But Imaginos, Sandy Pearlman, Mary Krugman, and Sandy Pearlman were the manager of the band, and mainly Sandy Pearlman. He was also one of the main lyricists of the band, and he was into science fiction and H.P. Lovecraft, and he had this amazing song cycle that he wanted to. Well, I think we're going to do a follow-up interview with Al Bouchard. We can discuss it further, but I don't know if they were actually trying to. This album, the Imaginus album, was put together, but I think that they were trying to do like a double album or a triple album, kind of like a concept type thing. And he passed away a few years ago, and Al decided to take it upon himself to take all of the lyrics. It's a trilogy of albums that Imaginos, and then Bombs Over Germany, Imaginos Part 2, Part 3, Mutant Reformation. He took all the songs that were written by Sandy Pearlman and put them into kind of a cohesive, like storyline, like a cohesive story. And when he only played a handful of dates, a couple in New York, in the New York State, and a couple around here. And it was really, if you're a BOC fan like me, it was just really great to see him. There was a lot of love there because he loved Sandy and they worked together. There's a famous song called Astronomy that was also on that Metallica Garage Inc. album that Metallica covered that actually gave BOC a little bit of more like notoriety, like in the late 90s. But he took all those songs. There's also some other songs that were written for the albums to fill in the gaps, but he basically lovingly took all the songs that Sandy Pearlman did, and kind of envisioned them and re-recorded them and put it together in this long like trilogy, this song cycle, and it was really, really awesome. And it was just them, and they played for like 2 hours, and it was really great to see. I have to thank Chip is one of the guys that one of the managers or management guys deal with. Chip Regeri from Chipster PR. He sent these to me. Thank you, Chip. Very much appreciated. They're amazing. We'll be talking to Al about it some more soon. Hopefully we can do like a follow-up interview. But everyone was there basically to meet the guy. They're doing an Imaginos comic book. I hung out with him for a minute, talked to him about the show, got a signature, got a couple of these Imaginos comic books, and that was really awesome. There was a couple of guys that came all the way from Canada to see the show.
Well,
yeah, all the way from Canada. And there was for all the serious BOC freaks out there, there was a guy that brought his Stalk Forest group album to get signed, which is like BOC was one of these bands that they were kind of like amorphous. They were constantly evolving, and their Sandy Pearlman, the genius behind the band, the manager was like, kept trying to get them signed, and when they got signed, if they kind of fizzled out, he was like, we'll just change your name. So they kept like changing the name of the band until it finally hit, and it did. And it just took a little while. It was like 72 when the first album came out, the first BOC album. But before that, they had an album called Stalk Forest Group, which actually was a fully produced and recorded album that got shelved by the label. And believe it or not, that kind of shit was very common back then. For whatever reason.
Espionage! And this is Nightmare Building! Silhouette comes alive, dark forces
Okay, welcome back. Part two of the Electric Church is the shows I've checked out the second half of 2023. And so I'm just going to go in chronological order. And so the first one I'll cover is Kings of Thrash. And for those who are not familiar with Kings of Thrash, it's David Ellison's Megadeth band, basically. He's put together a lineup. He was also playing with Jeff Young. And for this particular tour, they decided to do not an album show, which is very popular these days, but they did a double album show. So they played Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good in full, and then they played So Far, So Good, So What in full. So for the hardcore Megadeth fans, it was probably perfect for them, because I understand not much of those albums gets played by Megadeth these days. And so they basically just played those two albums, and then played a medley to close out the show, which included Peace Cells. I think they played the full song of Peace Cells, but they played a medley of other tracks just to close out. But it was basically just those two albums. So it was nice to sit back and enjoy some of that early Megadeth in full. I'm not the biggest Megadeth fan. It's not one of my favorite bands, but it was just good to get the opportunity to see them play those songs. Next show was, I would say I'd pencil it in definitely as my favorite death metal show of the year, and that was Exhumed. So from California. I'm not sure if they're from Los Angeles or not, but yeah, they formed, I think, in the mid to late 80s. So they've been around quite a long time. Matt Harvey, who fronts the band, is also playing in Left to Die with Terry Butler and Rick Ross, playing the old death tunes. But they were just fabulous. It was just, it's hard to top when you get a really good death metal band and it's a really good show, like a really good vibe. It's hard to top. It was just a great show, and the crowd was definitely into it. It wasn't a big crowd, maybe 100 people or so, but they just tore up the place, basically.
They didn't care. They delivered no matter. See, that's what I love about that. It's like, it doesn't matter if it's one person or a million people. You deliver the same. It's like you're there to perform. You know what I mean? So I love that. That's awesome.
And they had I don't know if it's a surgeon or whoever it is, their character dressed up on stage, and he was shooting people with blood, and had all these organs that
I saw them like 20 years ago. Yeah.
So it wasn't quite as full on as maybe some of those old school carnivore shows, but yeah, it had a little bit of those theatrics, and that was just
you know about those.
Show. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that was definitely best death metal show of the year, which was a big difference from the next show I'll talk about, and that was the Night Flight Orchestra, and that's fronted by Bjorn from Soilwork, and I guess he and the band members have a love for AOR and classic rock and that kind of thing. And so Night Flight Orchestra, definitely not metal at all, just to be clear. And it was funny because I spoke with Bjorn before the show, and he wasn't all that keen to have the show filmed, but they were actually happy that it was, because I just ran into a mate who's friends with him, and he said it was in the top 3 or 4 shows they've ever played. So it was like a memorable show for them. They were incredible, like flawless. It's just.
So what style?
AOR, basically. It's
so just like rock, just like rock.
Yeah, it's just old school rock. Not heavy at all. Very catchy, very poppy. They've got 2 female backing singers, a percussionist, a keyboard player.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, fabulous band. They could have played for another. I think they played for 75 minutes or whatever like that. They could have played for another 75 minutes. The fans were absolutely eating it up because they were completely into it. And for the last song, they actually got the crowd to form a conga line in the crowd. So you don't see that
Well,
very often.
that's fun. That's fun, man. Hey, why not, right?
Yeah. So it was, it's just a big party. And shout outs to the supports as well. Triple Kill were on before them, and I've seen Triple Kills. I guess you would call them a melodic thrash metal band. But their lyrics are very around nerd topics like computer games and sci-fi and stuff like that. So that they're quite light-hearted, but very good at what they do. It's probably the best show I've seen them play. So I've seen them 3 or 4 times. So that was incredible. And Dirty Pagans came over from Adelaide, and they were fabulous as well. So it wasn't just the Night Fight Orchestra. They really were supported well that night by those bands. The next one on my list was the Mighty Pizza Dick. Skull?
Pizza Dick.
Yeah, the Mighty Pizza Dick. They were back with their second album launch. So they cranked out another album, and so that was played at the Bendigo Hotel. And
I have to interject here. When I was talking to the Destroy Zine kids, this is what happens. So they're just sit there, they have their shit set up, it's at the merch area or whatever. You've been there, it's a really small club. And so I'm just trying to, just get a feel for what they're all about and just kind of network and talk to people or whatever. And I pick up their magazine and it's issue number 2 or whatever, and I'm flipping through it. I'm like, hey, look, there's an ad in here for this band called Pizza Death. And they're like, yeah. I was like, do you know these guys? He's like, yeah, they're cool, blah. And I was like, I have a friend over in Australia and we do a show together called Riff Crew the Realm, and we just recently interviewed them. And and I was just bullshitting with them and talking with them. And I guess I'm mismentioning that because I'm just trying to establish that like they were just normal, nice kids that were just trying to promote the scene. I mean, just think about it. 2024, it's a new year. Who goes out of their way? What young kid goes out of their way to create physical media when like 99.9% of everyone else is online, and these kids are going out of their way to actually try to create physical media. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really cool.
So it was just cool to see there was an old school Pizza Death ad in a local metal zine, and I was able to tell them about the interview. And they were like, yeah, we'll check it out. Anyway, so they're working on a new album.
Yeah, well, this was their second album. I'll just pull it out. So, of course, this was their first album, Pizza Death, Slice of Death. I'll just get that out of the way so you can see the cover. So that was the debut album.
Oh, over here, I can't see it.
Sorry, we've got two.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, Flight of the Pizza, right?
Slice of Death.
Slice of Death.
And the second album was Reign of the Antichrist. So they've just released their second album. This was back in August. And
it's called Flight of the Pizza.
Reign of the Antichrist is this second one.
No.
Yeah. So anyway, they played a small venue called the Bendigo Hotel where a lot of the metal gigs are played. It was sold out, 250 people or so. And I guess it was always going to be sold out because there were 2 other bands that were playing on the bill, which, pulled decent crowds themselves. The first I'll talk about is Remains. So for those who aren't familiar with Remains, it is a local grindcore band fronted by Tony from Bloodduster. And so they actually had to play without their bass player. I think he was sick, but Remains were good. And then that was followed up, completely different style, stoner rock, basically, Dr. Colossus. and so they played a like a 40-minute set to support Pizza Death as well. So yeah, the guys are just going from strength to strength. I think they've got European and American distribution deals now. If you want to pick up their vinyls, because postage is just a nightmare. Yeah, it was just great to see those guys kicking along, and they're just going from strength to strength. And I know Pat, the singer Pat, is keen to play. Was it Obscene Extreme in Europe, which is quite a famous festival. So hopefully the guys will get over to Europe sometime and play some shows. Moving on to September, I only saw one show in September. Surprisingly, it was just a quiet month, and that was to see this band. I don't think you can see the cover, but the band is called Lucifungus. So this is a two-piece band from Canberra, featuring two of the members of a famous band here in Australia, at least doom metal band called Pod People. And they actually had their album launch for the new album as well, but lo and behold, they didn't have any for sale. It was still getting printed. So surprisingly, sounded fantastic in terms of a full sound, because I've seen them once previously, and as a two-piece, it can maybe not fill out the venue in terms of the sound, but they sounded really great that night. So I don't know if it was specific to the acoustics of the venue, or they changed things up, or what it was, but yeah, they sounded great. And they actually didn't close the show because a local sludge band, Goat Shaman, did, and they were fantastic as well. Yeah, it was a good night of just slow, heavy music. Next one I'll talk about is a band that was unexpectedly playing a show because they broke up 18 months ago, and that was Espionage. They have members basically spread out all over Australia. One's up in Queensland, I think in Brisbane, one's down in Tasmania, and then two of the guys that sort of live in Victoria live about 2 or 3 hours drive apart. So they're completely spread out, but they had a friend that passed away, so decided to put on a benefit show for him, and recruited a couple of other local bands who I think were also mutual friends with the gentleman that passed away. And it was one of the gigs of the year for me, because the opening band was a band called Envenomed, thrash metal, more, I guess, I wouldn't take completely like melodic thrash as you might imagine, but they have catchy tunes as well as being heavy. Orpheus Amiga was the second band on the bill, who I guess you would compare them a lot with Swedish death metal bands in terms of the melodic death metal, like we talked about Soilwork before. So perhaps more towards that style of death metal. But Espionage is one of the best live bands I saw last year, period. Like, if you ask me gig of the year or set of the year, this was definitely one of my favorites. I'd have to think about it a bit in terms of what were my top 5 shows for the year. I'd say they would be in it. It was sensational, just electric. In terms of their style, if you're not familiar with Espionage, I think they describe themselves as no bullshit heavy metal. They're really that classic sort of early 80s heavy metal sound combined with some power metal influences and definitely King Diamond influences. The singer Frosty's really good. He does that, those high notes, falsetto type singing, and great songs, really well written songs, and they just shred like hell. Like, both of their guitarists are sensational players. So it was just just so fortunate to see them play again, because they'd broken up, and I was excited as soon as the show was announced, and they didn't disappoint. I know they only had one jam session before they played the show, but it was incredible. And that shows we've just put up recently online. So definitely check out Espionage if you like your classic heavy metal, because they are a sensational, absolutely sensational band. Following that, a change of pace, went down to Frankston to the Great Singing Bird Studios to catch a band called Mindsnare. They're kind of local hardcore legends here in Melbourne. They've been bouncing around since, I think, the early 90s. When I say hardcore, there's definitely a lot of metal or metalcore influences in their music as well. The music really goes. Not the music. The crowd always goes bananas at Mindsnare shows. Doing backflips off the stage and stuff like that. So it was no different there. It was actually my son's first proper gig that he went to because it was an all ages show, and he seemed to enjoy it, which was good because I wasn't sure how he'd take that. And there were some great supports in particular Fever Shack, who are actually they're supporting NoFX very soon. In front of 4,000 or 5,000 people, which is a great opportunity for those guys because they also play some really great hardcore. The next band is perhaps the name of the band people won't be familiar with, which is this one here, Luicidal. Have you heard of Luicidal before? Yes. So a little bit of background here. Luicidal it was formed by Luigi Mayorga, who was the OG bass player. He wasn't the completely original bass player of Suicidal Tendencies, but he was the first one to record with him. He was probably the principal songwriter on the first two albums, and wrote songs on the third album, How I Laugh Tomorrow. Some of those songs he wasn't credited for, where he actually had writing credits. So he was a powerhouse of the writing that early, punk thrash crossover music. And along with DRI, I don't know too many bands that have had a bigger influence in terms of that style.
I mean, that first Suicidal is probably one of the most important albums ever made as far metal and thrash and punk and all of it. That was like kind of like the blueprint for all of that. So is that a studio album? What is that?
So this one here, yeah. So he's released two albums. This is the first one. I'll just see what year it was released. This was back in 2014. So this is basically 10 years ago. He released his first Luicidal album. There was a second one called Born in Venice, which was maybe released 5 years ago now. So he's been bouncing around with different lineups for a number of years. He's primarily been playing with RJ Herrera on drums, who, for those Suicidal fans, would know he was with the band from Join the Army through to Lights Camera Revolution. So not the first album, but pretty much all their other classic albums. And I've been speaking with Lucy for a few years now, and trying to see if he can wrangle up some of the old school guys and then bring them out to Australia. So we're pretty close to announcing things there. But incredibly, this show, because I flew out to Los Angeles for this show, I was at Venice West in Venice. And so apart from having Luigi and RJ, who are essentially the classic rhythm section for Suicidal Tendencies, they were joined by Mike Clark and Rocky George on guitars. So essentially the classic Suicidal Tendencies lineup.
Well, that's the How Will I Laugh. That's the How Will I Laugh lineup.
Almost, because Luigi didn't play on that album, even though he wrote some of the songs.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Because Bob Heathcote played on that album, but because when Mike Clark joined the band, because he was playing in No Mercy prior to that, is that they were in the band a week before Luigi was shown the door by Mike Muir.
Oh, okay.
So this lineup had never actually played live before. This is essentially the classic lineup, and they never actually played a show together because of all the different lineup changes.
Right.
So yeah, and they cranked out like an 80-minute set. They played over 20 songs, and they played predominantly off the first three albums, but they threw in some of the new Luicidal songs, and they played Look Up, which was a song on the Welcome to Venice compilation, I think in '85, and they played a No Mercy song as well. So it was just great to see those guys
They
shredding
played
it
a
up.
No Mercy song?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Cool.
So yeah, and this, I mean, you talk about your experience seeing Suicidal Tendencies. This was the real deal. You
This is
don't.
like the exact opposite of what I experienced.
Yeah, so it wasn't
Oh,
wasn't like.
it was still cool, but yeah.
So yeah, so it wasn't, it's not like a ringing cover band with one of the original members. It's essentially the classic lineup, and they, didn't ramble on for 30 minutes with, some sort of preaching act. They just played the tunes, and as I said, I think they played 20, it might have been 22 songs or something like that. It was a big, big set, and yeah, to see the actual guys who wrote and recorded those classic songs, it was fantastic. So I know they played recently in a venue called Saint Rock in California. So this lineup hasn't played a lot together. But yeah, so looking forward to, getting everything sorted out and getting these guys out to Australia, because the Suicidal Tendencies fans won't be disappointed. They'll be excited to see this. Next up, not too far removed from Suicidal Tendencies in terms of style and lineage, or at least age. It was the Exploited, and they came out to Australia. This tour was booked and postponed a couple of times. So I think this was the third time it was booked because of all the lockdowns. I think primarily it was due to lockdowns, but it might have also been due to Waddy's health, because he's had a few surgeries. And I wasn't sure what it was going to be like because of the health issues Waddy has had, but there was no holding back. Like he had just as much as energy as I saw when I saw the band in 2007. It was.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna interview him.
Well, I don't know. He doesn't do interviews, mate, so I don't know how
Whether he likes it or not. He'll like that. He'll like that, right?
Well, I'd be up for it, but we'll see.
What we should do is we should introduce him to Harley and see how they get along. I'm sure it'll be a big love fest. I'm sure they'll love each other. And I don't know. Anyway, they're both insane, and they're both quite the characters.
True, and
yeah.
Because
it's no secret that Waddy has drug issues and all that stuff, and he delivers. I saw him 90 or 91 at the old 930 Club in DC, and it was incredible. It was really incredible. The guy lives and bleeds punk. So he's the real deal for sure.
Absolutely. And unlike, because some bands or some artists of that age can be disappointing because age catches up with people with different rates, and so it can be disappointing live, but you wouldn't have known that he's had like 4 heart surgeries or whatever it's been. Didn't hold back, and
he probably has an 18-year-old kid's heart right now. Is what it is.
Well, maybe at heart he does. I don't know if he's on the adrenaline.
I'm saying he has. It's been replaced. It's probably been replaced with an 18-year-old's heart, and now he's good to go for another 50 years. He's like, just be a.
Well, whatever it is, it's working for him.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And the rest of the band were great as well. So, yeah, a little bit surprised, to be honest, because I was worried about that in terms of his health, but yeah, I
Mm.
wasn't disappointed with the performance at all. Also in November, went to a place called Kilmore, which is about an hour's drive outside of Melbourne, for Kilfest. I've attended that festival for the past 2 years. And so this was the third edition of Kilfest. Unfortunately, it wasn't held in its previous venue, which was the old Kilmore Jail, which was the old prison, because apparently one person made a complaint about the noise, one resident.
Oh.
And because the venue didn't have a particular government license to play music, they couldn't hold the festival in the venue again.
Oh.
Which was, yeah, I mean, it's just incredible that, probably one old codger who can't stand noise up until 11 o'clock makes a complaint, and
Right.
everything goes to shit. So the promoter had to rebook the event in another venue in the space of, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks. Like, very little time to organise, but he was able to find a venue in Kilmore, another venue in Kilmore, which actually turned out to be pretty good, which was what we call an RSL group, or Return Services League group. So it was built to honour. It was a hall that was built to honour fallen soldiers and those returning soldiers from war. And it was a fabulous venue in the end, because it didn't have the same vibe as the prison, but it worked out quite well. But unfortunately, it probably hit the figures a bit in terms of pulling people, because the jail was definitely a nice place to see a gig. So. So yeah, enjoy going out to Kilmore. I'm not sure if there'll be too many more of those, because I'm not sure we'll get back to the old Kilmore jail. The following night, I was at it again to see another punk band, which you're of course familiar with, Skull, and that was GBH.
Awesome.
Yeah. So again, similar to Exploited, you always wonder how the guys are going to pull it off at their age, but they were incredible. They were fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're amazing.
they absolutely, brought the energy, hit it hard. The crowd was into it. They played, over an hour, really solid set, really lovely guys as well. I spoke to Colin prior to the show. And again, yeah, GBH, if you're sort of worried about, guys in their 60s, can they pull it off? They still pull it off. Absolutely. So thoroughly enjoyed that show.
I saw them earlier in the year with the other Electric Church, and they was yeah, it was amazing. They were still doing the City Baby Attacked by Rats 40th, right?
I don't think this tour was themed around any particular album or anything like that. It was just an album.
Okay.
So but they did play stuff off that album.
Yeah.
So next up was a local event here in Melbourne called Thrashfest. It's held, I think, once a year, and it featured 8 local, or predominantly local thrash bands. There was maybe 1 or 2 that came in from interstate, and 1 from New Zealand. So we'll just call them local anyway. And so probably the band I was most looking forward to was a band called Firestorm. They're from regional New South Wales. So I'm not sure how familiar you are with the geography of Australia, but if you were to drive for, I think it's 10 hours in a northwest direction from Melbourne, probably a similar amount of time from Sydney to straight west.
I only know the geography of Australia through watching the Mad Max movies.
Funny you mentioned that because the town they live in, Broken Hill, is where they film Mad Max.
There you go. See?
Yeah. So yeah, so they're from
Cosmic
Mad Max.
synchronicity, man. ESP.
Absolutely. So yeah, they're from Mad Max territory. So they're out in the sticks, basically, out in a post-apocalyptic world.
Hmm.
As far as I know, I haven't visited there before. I've only seen from the movies. But they're a really, really good thrash band. Really catchy songs. And they haven't actually, I don't think they've actually recorded anything yet. So we had I filmed them, I think in 2021 or was it 2022 in Adelaide. And that's online on our channel, but I don't think they've actually recorded anything yet. So I'd say check them out, but you probably just need to check out that live show because, yeah, I absolutely love what they do. So I was just
Okay.
super excited to see them, and they were actually booked on the Kilfest show, which I just talked about, but they had to pull out at the last minute because of some family commitments and whatnot.
Hmm.
So yeah, so that the Thrash Fest was headlined by Harlot, who we featured numerous times on here, and we also interviewed Andrew last year, Andrew Hudson from Harlot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So definitely, if you love your thrash, check out Thrash Fest later this year, presuming that it's held again. And it moves us into December, and I saw the Mighty Metal Church out here. So obviously, with the new,
That's a bucket list thing for me. I never seen them.
okay, well, I don't think you'll be disappointed. Like obviously, they've recruited a new singer, which is Mike Lopes from the Boss Band, and I think the last time they toured Australia, the venue was maybe 500, 700 capacity. So this time around, it was like 1,000. So it was a much bigger venue, and it was a really good crowd, really solid turnout. So obviously, the Metal Church fans, uh, 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 you know, maybe they're growing in stature because I know their recent album was a really solid one, and
Mm.
Mark does such a great job on vocals. And I'm not the biggest Metal Church fan. It's not a band like I've been following closely over the decades, but live they were fabulous. Like,
Well, I'll tell you, the first Metal Church album is probably on my top 10 greatest. We'll do this one day, but it's on my top 10 greatest thrash metal albums ever made.
well,
It's fucking incredible.
yeah, they played stuff off Metal Church. I think they closed the night with the song Metal Church,
Yeah,
and
it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
they played some deep cuts. They played the hits. They played some songs off their new album,
Mm,
and yeah, just one of those great rock shows. It's kind of like the vibe you get from Metal Church is, uh, it's almost like the arena rock type vibe. Like,
mm.
it's almost like it feels like they should be playing, in these large venues. So it was good that they did play in a bigger venue, even though it was, 1,000 capacity kind of thing. So yeah.
Right.
So yeah, if you do see Metal Church coming through town, I think you should get yourself a ticket.
They're on my list.
Yep. And the last show before Christmas, it was a special Christmas show. Actually, two shows before Christmas. One was it's Shot Kickers. I'll just briefly mention. Shout out to Goat Shaman and Mammon's Throne playing on that bill. I talked about Goat Shaman earlier. They're a great sludge band here in
Mm,
Melbourne. So you don't come across too many sludge bands. So they do it really well, and the crowd was crowd surfing. This is maybe 100 people in the venue. So really small, intimate venue, and it was moshing and crowd surfing, and even one patron got completely naked at the end of their set. Unfortunately, it was a male patron. So yeah, so it was a wild and rowdy set from Goat Shaman and Mammoth's Throne, who I highly recommend anybody who loves doom metal. You've got to check out Mammoth's Throne. Like,
Hmm.
I'm sort of on a bit of a trip listening to them. We've featured one of their live shows recently. They released a new album last year as well. I think it was last year. And they're, if you like sort of heavy doom with a tinge of black metal, they are stellar. They're a stellar band. So I love their set. And I'll no doubt be seeing them a number of times this year. But Mammoth's Throne, absolutely check them out.
Mammoth.
Yep, and then the last show before Christmas was I saw Dr. Colossus at the Tote. So I was talking about Dr. Colossus before. Here's their most recent album. Now, do you know the name of this album, Skull?
Uh-uh.
I'll read it to you. The album title is "I'm a Stupid Moron with an Ugly Face and a Big Butt, and my butt smells, and I like to kiss my own butt."
That is a quote from The Simpsons when Bart Simpson calls up Moe Szyslak at Moe's bar and punks him like he always does.
Yep. So that is one of the longest album titles in the history of rock. And a great album as well. And so they played a Christmas show. It was might have been sold out. You know, the venue holds 300. And unfortunately, halfway through the set prior to them coming on, because they have in-ear monitors, they basically went haywire, and so they ended up doing the show without using those, which they normally do. And unfortunately, it meant some of the samples that they used they couldn't use for that particular show. But otherwise, the guys just knocked it out of the park. Even through the technical issues, Jono's a really great front man for the band, and you know he had them eating out of his palm kind of thing, and so they were able to manage that unfortunate technical hitch, and you know it was a lovely way to enter the Christmas season, I guess.
Sure.
With their set. And funnily enough, that wasn't the last show I saw for the year or the last I'll talk about, because I saw one after Christmas as well. And
the Imaginos show was 2 days after Christmas. What was yours?
So I saw a band called Aardvark, which most people, even in Melbourne, wouldn't have heard because they've only been around maybe 18 months or so. I believe this was their 16th show because they were talking about Sweet 16, so they haven't played a lot. Maybe even they've played less. Maybe it's 16 months. So 16 months they've been around. I'd never seen them before. Actually, all the bands on the bill I'd never seen. So just briefly, there was a band called Fly. Hadn't seen them. They were just like up-tempo rock and roll. Their singer left earlier in the year, so their guitarist is now singing for them. Second up was a band called Cold of the Night, who, by their own admissions, are heavily influenced by Bathory and Venom. So you had that kind of style, and then of course headlining the night was Aardvark, and there's you'd be familiar with the term new album. But these days it's been replaced with the term new anthem, new wave of traditional heavy metal. And this is one of those bands that they're not ultra aggressive, they're not ultra distorted, they're not ultra fast. It's that, early 80s classic metal sound. And they do that beautifully. And I believe they've got an EP out, which you may be able to hunt down online, but they're yet to record their debut full-length album. But if you're in the Melbourne scene and you want that new anthem sound, that classic metal sound, definitely check out Aardvark. So yeah, it was a packed year of shows. I saw over 40 events for the year.
Wow.
I always sort of say I'll pull back a bit more, but when there's always great shows and great bands, it's hard to say
I
no.
probably did about 20 myself, but I'm seeing stuff like Kiss and shit like that. So it's heavy on the wallet.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm kind of fortunate because I'm always working at the shows. So,
Hmm.
shows cost to film, but it's not, 100, 200, $300 for some of these bigger shows.
Well, that's cool. All right. So then we wrapped it up for the Metal Church. I mean,
Metal
Electric
Church.
Church for I have it on the brain now. Electric Church for 2023, and then we'll do another one in a little while. So it was cool. Cool going through all that, man. It's just great stuff and still a lot of bucket list stuff to get through for me.
Have you got any bucket list items you're going to be seeing in the next couple of months?
Um, what is coming up? An industrial metal band called KMFDM. That is a bucket list thing for me. And there's a huge bucket list thing coming up for me. I'm a huge fan of the Red Rocker, Sammy Hagar. I loved his solo stuff before he joined Van Halen, became Van Hagar, and supposedly um, he's gonna be doing a tour with Michael Anthony, who's the bass player singer from Van Halen. So I'm very excited about that. Very excited. That's a huge thing for me. What about you?
There's a zillion shows coming up. Nothing bucket list, really. Nothing bucket list. So,
Hmm.
as mentioned, looking to bring out Lucicidal later this year, featuring 4 ex-members of Suicidal Tendencies.
Hmm.
There's some really cool shows already announced. So, just to rattle off some of them, I'm seeing the Mark of Cain, who, of course, we interviewed Kim Scott about a week ago, I guess.
Hmm.
Suicidal All
Cool
coming out.
guy. Very
What's
cool
that?
guy.
Yeah, yeah. All coming out, so I might catch them. Blind Guardian are coming out. Carcass are coming out in April, I think it is. Orange Goblin, Sirathungol with Night Demon are coming out in May or June.
Blind Guardian's coming here. I might go to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I ran into someone at a show on Friday night, and he highly recommended seeing them. He saw them at
I heard they're great live, so I have to check them out. Well, I guess that's it for Electric Church 2023 then, huh?
Yeah, another year down, another year to go, or more.
All right, well, I just have one last thing to say, and that's remember, all the world's a stage, so continue to worship at the Electric Church. And also remember, look to the stars, carry the torch of enlightenment, and strive to be a disciple of rock and roll in the Brotherhood of Orpheus. Cheers.
Doesn't matter what you say or do. God. Beat us, get fucked, try not, be cunt! Be nice! Get fucked! Try not! Be cunt!
Be nice and get fucked. Try not
To be a cunt! Be nice, get fucked! Be nice, get fucked! Try not to be a cunt! Be nice, get fucked! Be nice, get fucked! Try not to be a cunt! Be nice!